Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today we are going to do another poem by Seamus Heaney, that is Casting and Gathering. Seamus Heaney has dedicated this poem to his friend Ted Hughes, who was his contemporary and an English poet. The title of the poem, that is Casting and Gathering, tells us about two processes. Casting literally means to throw, to fling, and to scatter. Gathering means to reap, to cut, and to collect. Both these processes are related to the professions of fishing and farming. Ted Hughes had his roots, his passion in fishing, and Heaney had his lineage in farming. Both the poets had difference in opinions and views, but this did not draw them apart. So, as casting and gathering are two contrary phases of the same process, one leading to the completion of another, therefore, cherishing of different opinions should not lead to a conflict, but should teach tolerance and a peaceful coexistence. Seamus Heaney, who had grown up in a world torn in conflict, conveys the message of harmony and balance in a very thought-provoking manner. Dear students, now let us discuss the poem in detail. Years and years ago, these sounds took sides. On the left bank, a green silk-tipped gust went whispering through the air, saying hush, and lush, entirely free, no matter whether it swished above the hayfield or the river. So when we look at the first line, years and years ago, these sounds took sides. He is probably referring to the friendship that both friends cherished. That is Seamus Heaney and Ted Hughes. It was a friendship which was not of days. They had entered into this relationship years and years ago, and it was a very strong bond that they both had. And these sounds took sides. What he's referring to is that both of them, they had two different opinions. No matter what their ideas were, no matter what their opinions were, both of them had a very strong bond which they shared with each other. Then he goes on to say that on the left bank, a green silk-tipped gust went whispering through the air, saying hush, and lush, entirely free, no matter whether it swished above the hayfield or the river. So he is probably referring to the process of farming and fishing both. That when a farmer casts seeds in the fields, and when a fisherman, he plunges his fishing line into the water, both of them have a same kind of sound. Whether it's the hush sound or whether it's the lush sound, they both have the same kind of a sound that they make. Whether they whisper or whether they swish, it's the same kind of a sound that they make. And here he has used onomatopic words to give you the effect of sound. When he uses these words such as whispering, hush, lush, swish, they are quite onomatopic and they create a beautiful effect here in these lines. So what Seamus Heaney here basically is referring to is that no matter what your opinions are, whether they are the difference in opinion related to religion, whether they are the difference in opinion related to politics or towards life, it should not affect your relationship. As he has dedicated this poem to Ted Hughes, so he is taking this example of their friendship. They both had different natures. One had a hush kind of a nature and the other had got a lush kind of a nature. Seamus Heaney, who was very quiet by nature, who was introvert, and Ted Hughes, he was an extrovert, a very garrulous kind of a person. So both of them had different natures. So despite the fact that they had different natures, they had different opinions, they had a very strong relationship. This difference in opinion did not weaken their relationship, or they did not damage their relationship. So same goes for everybody, that whatever ideas you have, you should not let those ideas come into the way of your relationship. On the right bank, like a speeded up corncrake, a sharp ratcheting kept on and on, cutting across the stillness as another fisherman gathered line lengths of his reel. So in the previous stanza, we saw that Seamus Heaney was describing the process of casting. In this stanza, he's talking about the process of gathering. So whereas in the last stanza, he talked about the left bank, here he is talking about the right bank. These words are very significant. We are going to discuss them in the following stanzas. So he says that on the right bank, like a speeded up corncrake. A corncrake is a bird which lives in marshy areas. And it makes a very shrill kind of a sound. So here the gathering of the fishing line and the gathering of the crops, that is the process of harvesting, they are being compared to the sound that is made by a corncrake. So it's a very screechy kind of a sound that is made by this bird. So he says that this sound, it cuts across the stillness as another fisherman gathered line lengths of his reel. So basically what he's trying to tell here in this stanza is the process of gathering, that is the process of harvesting, collecting. So a fisherman is gathering his fishing line and a farmer is harvesting his crops. So both of them are busy in their tasks. Both of them are going through the same process, that is of gathering. In the previous stanza, both of them were shown to be casting. In this stanza, both of them are shown to be gathering, to be harvesting. And this process is different, is in contrast to the process that was shown in the first stanza. I'm still standing there, awake and dreamy. I've grown older and can see them both, moving their arms and rods, working away, each one absorbed, proofed by the sound he's making. So here Seamus Heaney says that I have grown older seeing these two different processes. They might be the two different thought processes. They might be the two different opinions. Whether they are the different political opinions or they are the different religious opinions, he says that I have grown older and I have seen them going through this, moving their arms and rods, working away, each one absorbed, proofed by the sound he is making, proved here that is indifferent by the sound he is making. So what he is trying to tell here is that probably he's referring to his own childhood, the conflict that he had seen due to two different religious opinions. And he had grown up in an atmosphere where the Protestants and the Catholics were all the time in conflict with each other. So he says that I have grown older and I have seen this happening in front of me, and each one is absorbed in what it is doing. So it might be, because in the previous stanzas he has talked about the left and the right bank. So according to some critics, probably it's the capitalist and the socialist approach that he's talking about. And the 20th century, it saw these two approaches growing up, capitalism and socialism, and there were two different opinions, two different point of views, which brought the world at the verge of a third world war. He is not only referring to that, he is also probably referring to the two different religious divides that he saw as a child living in the Northern Ireland, what he saw growing up into a young man, and now he says that I have lived with this. I have grown older and I can see these two different approaches which have caused a lot of trouble to the world, which have caused a lot of bloodshed to the world. Each one is absorbed, each approach is absorbed in its own self. It is indifferent to the sound that it is making. It is indifferent to the havoc that it is creating. It is indifferent to the bloodshed that it is shedding. So he says that this is what is going on in the world. Two different point of views, when they are not tolerated, when they are not given space, then it results in trouble. And this is what he has seen. So taking the example of the friendship with Daddy Hughes that he had, they two were of different natures. They two were of different brought-ups, but they could coexist. They could cherish a very strong bond with themselves. So he says that as the process of sowing in the field and throwing a net or a fishing line in the river is different from the process of gathering the fishing line and harvesting the crop. But these two different phases are a part of one process, that is either fishing or farming. And these two different processes complete the whole. Similarly, he says that two different opinions regarding politics, regarding religion, or regarding any other matter of life should not become a source of conflict, should not become a source of letting loose hell on others. It should not be a source of creating more troubles and more inflicting more pain and misery on people. So he says that when they are absorbed in each other, when these two sounds are absorbed in each other, they are absorbed in themselves. It means that they are indifferent to the problems that they are creating.